Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at another new Fates Collide deck. This time it's going to be revolving around one of the best cards in the set, and that's going to be Mew. Not the traditional way that you may think to play Mew. It's not an updated Night March list. It's actually going to be a mill deck, and I think this definitely has potential. We did see the new Durant, well, the old Durant now I guess, from Breakpoint. People wanted it to be good. There's definitely potential there, but it was just a near miss kind of card where it just needed too much to get set up. So we're trying to abuse Mew in combination with it to try and make a proper mill deck. So let's have a look at it. First of all, we're playing 4 of the new Mew. Mew has the ability, I believe, let's see what it's called. It's called Beginning Memories, which means it can use the attacks of any of your basic Pokemon on the bench, which is pretty good. You still need the necessary energy to attack, but the whole point of Mew is he's a Psychic type, so we can use Dimension Valley to make our attack costs a little bit cheaper. It also has the attack for 1 colorless energy, so sometimes we can do this for 0 energy with D-Valley. It's called Encounter, allows you to search your deck for a Pokemon, put it into the hand. This is really handy as well because we don't have too many draw cards in this deck because we have a lot of disruption cards and other sort of supporters. Being able to just search out a Pokemon can be handy sometimes if we don't have the right conditions to get our main attack going. But yeah, Mew's very, very good card. Free retreat on top of everything else. 50 HP is the biggest burden for the deck, but we're trying to disrupt our opponent with this deck, so hopefully we can just mill them out. And the main attack we're going to be copying is from Durant, like I was saying. Durant has the attack called Scrape Down for a grass and colourless, so now Mew can do it for just a grass energy, which is if it has any damage counters on itself. So it reads if this Pokemon has counters, so it means the Mew has to have damage counters on it. You may discard the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. So it's a really powerful mill. 4 cards per turn is very, very good. We're going to use Rainbow Energy to put a damage counter on Mew, basically. So Scrape Down, each turn we're going to get rid of 4 cards off the top of our opponent's deck and try and mill them out, basically. We rarely ever attack with a Durant, that's why I've only gone for a 3 count. Obviously it's devastating if any are prized because we can't access our prizes, so I think 3 is probably correct. Very rare that you'll ever attack with him because you don't want to spend 2 attachments on a single card in this deck, especially with such low HP. But he needs to sit on the bench for Mew to be able to use its ability. We're also playing 2 Bunnelby. Bunnelby is also a card featured heavily in mill decks. Because of his barrage trait, we can use his attacks twice, each offer a colourless energy. Burrow allows us to discard the top card of our opponent's deck, and Rototiller allows us to shuffle a card from our discard pile back into our own deck. So both are kind of handy. We can burrow for a single energy. There are times when we're being hit with Hex Maniac and we can't use Mew, so we can use Free Retreat, go into Bunnelby, try and burrow for 2 cards that turn. So it's not horrible. Also, Mew can copy the attack for free if we've missed energy, but we still have Dimension Valley in play. We can copy Burrow or Rototiller, but bear in mind we don't have the trait on Mew, so we can only copy it once, which is a bit of a shame. It's a lot weaker than obviously using Bunnelby, but sometimes we just have near misses and we can still do some sort of action that turn, so it's good to have the Bunnelby in here. He offers quite a few options in the deck. Finally, we're playing a 1-1 Octillery line. Octillery really helps out a deck like this because we are kind of wombo combo-y. We need to have D-Valley, Mew, and Rainbow Energy, and like all of these cards are 4-ofs only, so we need to keep drawing into cards, and especially when we're trying to use disruption supporters sometimes, other sorts of support, we're not drawing too many cards. We don't have we don't have Shaman in this deck, so we need some sort of pseudo draw, and I think Octillery is the best option because he's 90 HP, which means the whole deck is now levelable, searchable. So we're going to try and abuse that. So Octillery really helps out our sort of janky hands. We have a lot of insta-play cards, stuff like Trick Shovel. So normally we do get value from that Abyss hand. Right, onto the items now. We have 1 Escape Rope. Octillery has a chunky retreat cost of 2. Bunnelby, if we were to start with it, also has a 2 retreat cost, so we want to be able to move out of those things. We are playing Puzzle of Time, so if we are like Lysandre stalled, we can recover the Escape Rope when we need to, which is pretty good. We are playing 1 Enhanced and 3 Crushing Hammer. These are to slow down the opponent's attacks, basically. Like I say, we're not involved in a prize race ever. We're just trying to mill the opponent out. So anytime we can remove an energy, stop them for attacking, stop our opponent getting attacks off, is really going to help us out. So I don't think we really have space for more hammers. I think this count is fine. If we are really desperate to get more hammers, we can get them back with Puzzle. We're then just playing for Trick Shovel. Basically, you insta-play it, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. There'll be very rarely situations when you won't discard their top card. If they are dead drawing though, like if we've used a Crushing Hammer that's worked and they've passed a turn or whatever, you can Trick Shovel, see if it's a bad card and give it to them, because then sometimes you can still have, you know, an extra attack where they have dead drawn. So you have a bit of manipulation. Most of the time you're going to just take it as a -1 from the top of their deck. So yeah, Trick Shovel to speed up the mill. We're playing 4 Trainers now, insta-play card once again, getting into, you know, whatever else we need, keep us ticking along quite nicely. We are then playing 4 Level Ball. 4 Level Ball searches out every card in the deck for free, so very, very good card as well. You can see we're just maxing out most cards at this point, just trying to be as consistent as possible. 4 VS Seeker as well, similar reasons. We have a couple of 1-of supporters and a couple of 2-ofs as well, so VS Seeker is going to be handy for fishing those out when we need them. 4 Puzzle of Time, because we are using teammates as one of our main uses of supporters. Puzzle is often live to get back our Rainbow energy, because it's super important to get back Rainbow, because it's the only way we can attack with Mew to use the Durant's attack. And we're limited to 4 copies of Rainbow because it's a special, of course. So just like Night March likes to recover DCE, we like to recover Rainbow energy in this deck. So Puzzle is really helpful for us. It can also be Pokemon recovery, because we don't play anything like Sacred Ash or Super Odds. So this can also be recovering Mews or whatever else we need to recover. Onto supporters, we play quite a few. We're playing 1 Team Flare Grunt. I feel like we only really have the space for the one thing, but also we're trying to use other supporters a lot of the time. Like I say, we're fairly slow. We need to keep getting into these Rainbow energies and a steady stream of Mews. It's not always that easy, so we have to often use draw supporters. So he's a really nice option. He's taken the slot of the 4th Crushing Hammer, and I think it's really worth it because it's a VS Secretable target, but I don't think we have space for more. We are playing 1 Lysandre. It's a similar issue of space. I think 1 is enough, but if we can get something chunky in the active position and stall it, that's going to really help us out. We are playing 2 Teammates. Teammates is really sick for the Puzzle combo, and then Puzzle combo gets us into more Rainbow energy, more Mew, more Crushing Hammers, whatever we need really. So Teammates is absolutely fantastic, and with such low HP in the entire deck, we can imagine that we will be losing prizes quite frequently. We are playing 2 Brigette. The deck is almost all basic apart from the Octillery line, and we need a lot basically. We need to have multiple Mews from the start of the game basically, because we'll be pressured very early on, and we need to have a steady flow of Pokemon. Brigette helps us do that quite nicely. 4 N. N is also a key player in the deck. Obviously it's a card that we get back from the new set Fates Collide, so N is always going to get us 6 cards, so it's always a powerful draw supporter for us, and it also has the benefit later on in the game of giving your opponent dead hands, which can really help us take back the board position and buy us extra turns of mill, which is really important. So N, pretty good card. And we're still playing 4 Sycamore. I think really high supporter count, so we've got pretty much like 10 good supporters on our first turn. That's like really high for pretty much any deck, so it's very important to start off well with this deck, because it's pretty clunky and stuff, so we want to have a high supporter count, and I think that's just super important for a deck like this. We are playing maximum copies of D Valley because, you know, it's a crucial element of the deck basically, so Mew can attack for 1 energy less. And there are the 4 Rainbow energy. Again, very important card. It's what makes us get 1 damage counter onto Mew, so that we can use the Durant's attack. And finally for energy, we are playing a couple of basics, only a couple of grass. This allows us to use the Durant's attack if we have damage counters on us already. It's going to be very rare that that is the case. It does let us use Durant's first attack called Mountain Munch, which does 10 and discards the top card of your opponent's deck. but also it means we can attack with Bunnelby itself, so that's a pretty handy option. It can also be to pay retreat out of stuff. If we started with Durant or if we started with Remoraid, we can pay retreat out of these things, so we're not fully focused on hitting that one escape rope that we play. So yeah, that is the deck. It's very simple. It's basically just an upgraded version of the old Durant deck. I never bothered to profile it in the past because I thought it was always just sort of missing something, and potentially Mew with D-Valley is that something. It gives us potential to do it on the first turn, and it's probably easier to stream these than streaming Durants with that 2 energy, so try it out. It's, you know, an updated version of the Durant approach. If you like milling out cards, Mew can be very handy for you. I think I'm also going to do a profile at some point of an expanded deck, which is basically the same deck, but you're playing the old Durant, and the reason why you want to play Mew instead of the old Durant is because it means that you constantly have 4 Durant on your bench, and they're safer on the bench because it forces Lysandre, so we're not so strained on stuff like Revive. So you can expect to see an updated version of the old Durant deck for an expanded list as well. So Mill might be returning to the format, guys, thanks to this Mew card. So let me know what you guys think about this, and Durant potentially returning to the format. And there's a lot of compressor decks right now, and there's a lot of decks that like to have speedy engines, all based around Sycamore still, pretty much, and drawing lots of cards with Shaman. So that really does play into the hands of a deck like this. Biggest issues for the deck: Hex Maniac, most likely, and also just dead draws. If you get hit with Judge and you just have nothing to come out of it, if you can't develop your Octillery, you're pretty sad. And just basically not having enough turns to win the game is also just a way that we can lose, because the format is so fast. People are ready to attack for just a single energy most of the time. Think about stuff like Night March. Even though they discard a lot of cards, they're going to attack you, you know, for 6 turns flat. They're going to just hit you, basically. So sometimes you just don't have enough time to win games, and that's something that we can't really overcome, but, you know, we have to do our best to hit hammers and disruption supporter cards, stuff like that. So try it out for yourselves. I'm sure it's a good bit of fun, and it's going to be interesting to see if this can compete at the top tables once again. It's been a while since we've seen a good Mill deck, and yeah, I'd like to see it do well personally. So there it is, guys. It's been Joe from OmniPoke, and I'll see you guys next time for some more Fates Collide deck analysis.